And that is how you get a bunch of holes for your tubing set up very quickly. So you can do this with a single tap line going into here, or drop line, or a double. And I like to drill them all as a double, because when you're out in the woods, you never know which tree is going to take 1 tap or 2 taps. Some trees are really large and might take 4 taps. Another trick I do is these buckets get stuck together really bad, and it can be about impossible to get separated from each other. So the different brands of buckets from the different stores, if I alternate them, they seem to get stuck less. These are all freshly purchased from the store, and they are packed tight. Sometimes you can get them apart, sometimes you can't. So I went to the store the other day, and I picked up about 25 buckets. I had to drive around, and I will tell you, today is my birthday, and I would rather be doing nothing else than this. So, if you have some buckets that don't come apart, of course now they're all coming apart. You can take the edge of your bucket on your tailgate and putting the lip of one below the ridge of your tailgate and one above. Mine has a rubber seal along the edge. I have done this on my stock trailer for going around and gathering the sap also. You just need something horizontal to use here on this lip. You take the two like this, you pull down on the lower one, and that distortion of pulling on it is going to let the air out of the top that's creating that suction. So then you can get to work. So, today, happy birthday. Happy birthday to me. The sap is running from the tree. We're going to make some maple syrup for my birthday today. So, I have to go empty some buckets. Some buckets are froze solid because it has been 10 degrees at night. The sap is actually running today, and the buckets are full or nearly full of frozen sap. So I have to swap out some buckets instead of just emptying them before I can filter them and drain them into my sap tank. So let's go around and go swap some buckets. I'll tell you, one thing I remember about every maple season, it gets muddy and wet. And last year, we had so much flooding that the basement flooded, the yard was flooded, the woods were flooded. It was a mess. And that's why maple syrup lines are very handy for that way, so that you're not getting stuck out on a tractor collecting. So I am setting up my drain hose for my sump pump ahead of time to make sure that it is running away from the house. Because the simplest thing they could have done, they didn't. When they built this house, they ran a sump pump along the floor joists in the basement for the first floor, along the first floor, out the side of the house, into here, and they stopped it right there under the steps. Well, this hill slants down right here, and then there's an opening to the basement at the bottom of this hill. So the water runs down here without that corrugated tile sitting there, and it runs right back down here, and then it gushes rapidly down this slope and down to the basement. Now we're in the middle of a project right now of closing this in. So we poured concrete, and there is a sump pump opening or crock in there, and that also leads into the drain tile that's running under the house. It was the worst design they could have possibly done. If they would have left this closed off, there was no reason for it, then it wouldn't have run. Why run all that drain tile under your house to be able to fill up your basement? Now, there's downspouts. I'm going around and making sure that they're all attached. This one always gets knocked off, but this is just on a foundation. But I don't want that foundation cracking, so the downspout is back on. The water will all run downhill. The raspberries don't like it so much. But I am ready. Look at this. I've got, I think they are 8-foot sections. And I've got at least 4 and some partials. This section is stuck together. I gotta go get a screwdriver to take it apart. In the past, I know there's more down there. I have rolls of this from doing other projects. I could keep that going all the way down there, and I could run it so that it doesn't fill up or damage my fence post, and I could keep it going all the way down to the creek. The creek always overflows right in that area anyway, so I don't know if really diverting it that far would make a difference. But it's all downhill. It's totally an option. George is out tapping maple trees with Mom. Everyone else is over on the hill sledding, huh? Yeah. George is 1.5 years old. He'll be 2 in August. This is March. And George just tapped trees with me. He carries the blue tubes and Mom drills the hole. That's right. So we emptied our sled out of buckets. We gotta go get some more. I've got some pink marks on my trees here. This is a whole new section of the sugar bush that I have not tapped before. I came out with my can of paint and I got them all marked so that I can tap them easily. So it looks like I need to bring 1, 2, 4 more buckets over here, 5. I'm counting. Some are right on the edge of the size to tap. And there are so many trees right here that I really wanted to take advantage of it. This loop is on the low end, close to the river. So we wanted to make sure that we're able to get through with the tractor. Hauling it uphill with the tank in the sled is hard. There's a few over here that I can't ever really get to, but there's some over on a peninsula right over here that I marked, and later on I can always run a tube going over, because at 15 cents or so a foot, it can get expensive to run too many lines. This area over here is unmarked. It is mostly younger trees in a very rocky area, and there's not a lot of maples in here. So to walk far into it is a lot of work. And as you can see, I'm going uphill. So going into this area here is always an if. When can we do it? And with running the little tractor, I think it's light enough that it can get through the woods easy, as long as the little tractor will go. You see here, I found a few big maples on the lane that no matter what, we can get to these. And we haven't tapped them the whole time we've been here. So all new. I think I'm adding about 30 taps in this section. As always, every time I head out to the woods, it's later in the day, and they have been coming out earlier. It was about 3:30 or 4 o'clock when we headed up to the woods, and they were starting to come out. They come out here and graze, and then they cross the road and go over to the property across the street where the sugar beets were grown. And everything that was too small for the harvester either didn't get pulled up or got partially pulled up, and they go out there and eat. There have been 20 to 30 deer out here every night. They scattered every which way back into the woods when we went in there, and they were hiding. They probably went over by the hayfield. So hopefully I've got all my tree tapping done for my buckets, because I have 8 empty buckets and I've got 3 buckets full of sap that I had to swap out, and it wasn't enough to start boiling yet. So we will probably start boiling in the next couple of days. The sap is going to start running from the trees. They did a little bit today. They're going to be running tomorrow wholeheartedly because it's supposed to be in the 40s. And one day this week it said like 50 something. So it's going to run like crazy. This being a super short sap year, so far for this year, we're at about 2.5 to 3 weeks less than when I have started tapping trees and collecting sap in the previous year. And in other years, we have gone maybe a week shorter. So I added a lot more taps in areas where I know that there were trees to get. That area by the river, oh my gosh, I think I added 16 to 19 new buckets. Some of them single taps, some of them doubles. Not a whole lot of doubles. They're younger trees, and I've always just kind of been on the fence about tapping them too early. And they're well beyond, the tapping stage, but to keep that going year after year. Of course, you know, I don't want to get into the heartwood being small trees or reduce my tappable tree surface for coming years also. So super exciting. There were some big sections of trees where there were very mature trees that were kind of off the path, and because the kids were so small, we had skipped tapping them. They're big enough. Jack is almost 13 years old, and he can't carry a 5-gallon bucket, which is heavy. You know, I give him that. I mean, it's 40 pounds when it's totally full, and you end up spilling it all over yourselves, which they came home soaking wet. Nobody told me that they got wet. They went out with no snow pants, and they were sledding downhill, and they were playing in the creek. So they got their boots filled full of water. They're in the house drying out. I'm topping off the cow's water for the night. I've got almost an hour left of daylight, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what can I do outside? I'm just wrapping up my chores for the day now so that I can go in and kind of relax, because I have got a drive tomorrow, a couple hours away, to go pick up some beef that we had taken in for a friend. And because of the distance, we're kind of being nice and we're going to get it ourselves. So I'm going to take it easy for tonight, and I'll let you know how the tree tapping turns out. But I am super excited and stoked. I'll give you a final count after we get the tubing set up on the hillside. But for now, we are just more than we ever have. I probably put in close to 30 extra taps this year. So if you remember earlier this year in showing my preparations, I did a little more work on my milk tank. I have my right fittings, except for I forgot to get a valve or a ball valve for closing off my fitting, because I was figuring I would just go straight to a hose. My other milk tanks have a valve. It's called a tri-clamp or a butterfly valve that clamps right on here. This one is a 1.5 inch instead of a 2 inch. So I couldn't use the clamp from the other tank, and this is the tank I decided I wanted to use up here in the yard. And I went through and scrubbed her all out with bleach. It is super clean now. I have a little bit of milk acid built up, but it is clean and ready to go. Look at that. Now, a lot of people tend to use just whatever it is that they have on hand, and the milk tank for me was $200. A 100-gallon stock tank for watering cattle is $139. So this is 800 gallons instead of 100 gallons, and it gives me the ability to grow. I can use this for anything on the farm. I can store it. It's just a great tank. What can I say? So I'm going to get a ball valve added to it this weekend. For right now, my buckets are full, and it is time to empty the sap. It warmed up, and of course, you're just never ready with all the things that have to be done. The weather has been non-cooperative. Oh, this is going to be the shortest maple sap season ever. So I've got to go out to the woods and upright my buckets. I did all that work, and I didn't get out there to weigh them down. So they might be blown away. I was right on the edge of the river, and they could be gone. So I've got to get out there and see what's going on, because the sap is running like mad today. It's going to run like mad tomorrow. Husband's coming home to help me cut the bricks to set up the evaporator, and I don't have enough blocks on hand to set up the flat pan. This is an insulated milk tank, which makes it super duper, and then I can go ahead and let it sit. You want to boil your sap anywhere from 3 to 5 days. It doesn't have a long life. This isn't a refrigerated tank, so at least it's not going to be sitting in an open tank. It starts getting cloudy, it starts getting ropey, and then it gets slimy. You can't make syrup out of that. It spoils. This is food grade. It's stainless steel. That's why I wanted to show you the inside of it. The outside of it, originally half of it was galvanized, and it's not in contact with anything on the inside or around the collar going out. So super great thing to use, where a galvanized stock tank is, number one, galvanized. It's not meant for human consumption, and we all use kind of the tricks that we were taught or picked up from other people on YouTube. Stick with food grade stuff. I was really lucky with this tank. My other tanks were more expensive, but you can pick up used milk tanks. Check Craigslist, check around. If you know a farmer, ask him. Somebody else might have one sitting in their barn that you can pick up for cheap. A lot of times they are, you know, like a milking room that the person couldn't get it out because it's like cement blocked in. Maybe there's a way you can work it out that you can get it out by doing a little bit of deconstruction for them. You know, maybe they don't want that building there anymore, and you can tear it out for them in exchange for the tank. So, good way to pick them up. So I just wanted to show you a view from above the tank. I'm using these Fernco quick caps, and most of these are about 3-inch. They don't rise up a whole lot, so it's hard to like lock them on, but it's something on there. Better than just having wood in contact with it in case it rains and runs in. I don't want that. I can weigh it down with a wood piece or a rock, but let me show you my first collection of sap. Oh, and I have to go get a 2-inch one because this one was an odd size. None of my other tanks have that. So there's my first sap. This is about 2 gallons worth of syrup at the end. So I usually do a boil when I'm at about 5 gallons. My kettles that I use on my stovetop are 5 gallons. I'm having a little bit of an issue with one of my stovetop burners, so I don't know if I really want to do it inside for my finishing. If I get the evaporator finished bricking, it's got to dry for 24 hours and then do a couple of test burns at a low temperature. So I'm kind of like, ah! I'm so flustered about all of this. So I'm going to take a break and go in and have some lunch because I'm exhausted. I just emptied out 22 buckets in my yard. No, I emptied out 24 buckets in my yard. I didn't realize I had that many taps just in my yard. So I need some fuel or I'm not going to get through the rest of the day. And I have to take some buckets out to the woods with me because I'm sure some of them are going to be gone. So I'm collecting some of those right now.